Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into the weeds of the Model Penal Code's justification defenses.
That's right.
Specifically, we're looking at when exactly the law says it's okay to use force against someone else.
Yeah, and it's trickier than it sounds.
Definitely. This isn't just about, feeling threatened. It's navigating a really structured set of rules. A mistake, maybe, about whether you had to retreat can totally change the legal outcome.
Absolutely.
So our mission here is to give you, the listener, a clear, sort of actionable way through these MPC standards.
And that's vital because the MPC, it really demands precision. We're going to break down the key rules and the really important limitations in sections 3.04 for self-protection,
Okay.
3.05 for protection of others, and 3.06 for protection of property.
Right.
You really want to pay attention to the policy choices baked in here. Like the duty to retreat in deadly force cases, that's strictly enforced sometimes. And also how they got rid of the right to resist an unlawful arrest if you know it's an officer. These details, they're crucial. They make the difference between walking away justified or, well, facing conviction.
Okay, let's dive in. Starting with the basics. Using force for self-protection, section 3.04. Before we hit the exceptions, what's the absolute core rule in 3.0441? What has to be true for any use of force to be justified?
Okay, the general rule. Force is justifiable if the actor believes, and that belief part is key. It's subjective that the force is immediately necessary.
Immediately necessary.
Right. To protect themselves against the use of unlawful force by the other person on the present occasion. Not tomorrow, not yesterday, but right now.
And that subjective belief, what if they're wrong?
Good point. That's where section 3.09 comes in.
Mm-hmm.
If your belief, even if honest, was negligent or reckless, you might still be liable for crimes that have those lower mental states. So the justification isn't a total get-out-of-jail-free card if you were unreasonably mistaken.
Got it. Okay, subjective belief, but with that important catch. Now, let's look at the limits. The MPC makes a really big call in 3.042AI about resisting arrest. Let's analyze this specific limitation. First off, what are the key facts that this rule is designed to address? What's the scenario?
The scenario is this. Someone is using force to resist being arrested. And here's the critical part. They know the person arresting them is a peace officer.
Even if they think the arrest is bogus.
Exactly. Even if the actor genuinely firmly believes the arrest itself is unlawful, they know it's a cop making the arrest.
Okay, so what's the core legal issue the MPC drafters tackled with this specific rule?
The precise question is, can you legally use self-defense force to resist an arrest, as being made by a peace officer, even if objectively that arrest is unlawful, maybe lacking probable cause?
And what's the rule the MPC lays down? Can you state the actual rule from 3.042AI and break down its elements for us?
Sure. The rule is pretty blunt. It says, the use of force is not justifiable under this section to resist an arrest that the actor knows is being made by a peace officer, even though the arrest is unlawful.
Not justifiable. Full stop.
Right. And the elements for this prohibition to kick in are, 1, the actor uses force. 2, the force is used specifically to resist an arrest. And 3, the actor knows the arrest is being made by a peace officer.
Okay, thank you. Now for the elemental analysis behind this policy choice. Let's walk through it. How did the MPC drafters use that third element, the actor's knowledge, it's a peace officer, to basically prioritize public order?
Well, the thinking was really about preventing violence on the streets. The sub-issue, you could say, is whether we prioritize avoiding fights with police over an individual's immediate right to resist an unlawful seizure. And the MPC's answer is clear. Once that third element is met, as an officer, the justification defense just vanishes. Poof, gone. The idea is you challenge the unlawful arrest later in court, not with force on the street. It's a policy choice favoring de-escalation, even at the cost of temporary submission to unlawful authority.
So if element 3 is met, the justification fails. What's the final conclusion then regarding this defense in the known officer situation?
The bottom line, the justification defense under 3.04 is completely unavailable. You simply cannot use force to resist an arrest, even an unlawful one if you know the person doing it is a cop. That's a major shift from older common law ideas.
A really fundamental shift. Okay, let's move to deadly force. This obviously raises the stakes enormously. What's the standard for when deadly force is okay? And crucially, when does this duty to retreat come into play?
Right. Deadly force is a whole different ballgame. It's only justifiable if the actor believes it's necessary to protect against basically the worst outcomes.
Yeah.
Death, serious bodily injury, or rape sexual intercourse compelled by force or threat.
Only those things.
Only those. And here's the big catch. The retreat rule. Deadly force is not justified if you could avoid using it with complete safety by doing one of three things. One, retreating. Two, surrendering possession of some object someone's trying to take by asserting a claim of right. Or three, complying with the demand to stop doing something you don't actually have a legal duty to do anyway.
That retreat rule is huge, but there's a major exception, right? The castle doctrine idea, your home or workplace. That's in 3.04(2)b. What are the specific elements that actually negate that exception, meaning you do have to retreat, even from your own place?
Exactly. There's the general no retreat from home or work rule.
Yeah.
But that privilege disappears. You do have to retreat if one of two conditions is met. Element one, the actor was the initial aggressor. If you started the fight, you can't claim castle doctrine to finish it with deadly force if you could safely leave.
Okay, starting the fight cancels the privilege. What's the second condition?
The second one is specific to the workplace, element two. The actor is attacked in their place of work by another person the actor knows also works there.
Ah, so it matters if it's a coworker attacking you at work. Let's do the elemental analysis on that second element. Why make that distinction? Why does knowing the attacker is a coworker suddenly impose a duty to retreat at work?
Well, the drafters were trying to draw a line. The sub-issue is balancing the stand-your-ground idea in your safe space against the reality of workplace conflicts.
Right, offices can get heated.
Exactly. The policy protects you in your base, home, or work. But if the threat at work is from someone you know is a coworker, the thinking is these are often disputes that shouldn't escalate to deadly violence if retreat is a safe option.
So the known coworker revives the duty.
Correct. It revives the duty to retreat if you can do so safely. But if the attacker at your workplace is a stranger, or maybe someone who works there, but you don't know that, then you retain the no retreat privilege. You're treated more like you're defending your space against an outside invader.
Okay, that distinction is really interesting. Now, what if you're not defending yourself, but someone else? Section 3.05, protection of other persons. This adds another layer. What are the three conditions that all have to be met for you to be justified in using force to protect a third party?
Yeah, it's cumulative. You need all three from section 3.051. First, A, the force you use would have been justified if you were using it to protect yourself in that situation. Basically, the amount and type of force must be appropriate for the threat.
Okay, condition one is about your own justification.
Second, B, the person you're protecting would themselves be justified in using that protective force. But, and this is important, this is judged based on the circumstances as the intervening actor believes them to be.
Ah, so it's based on the rescuer's belief about the victim's justification.
Exactly. We'll come back to that. And third, C, the intervening actor believes their intervention is necessary for the protection of that other person.
Okay, let's circle back to that second condition. The belief that the person being protected would be justified. You said that's important. How does that differ from, say, older legal rules?
It's a major difference. The MPC deliberately rejects the old, stricter common law rule, often called the alter ego rule.
Alter ego, meaning?
Meaning, the rescuer literally stood in the shoes of the person they were helping. If it turned out the person being rescued wasn't actually justified, maybe they started the fight or were mistaken, then the rescuer wasn't justified either, no matter how reasonable things looked at the time.
Ouch. That sounds risky for Good Samaritans.
It's very risky. So the MPC flips it. It uses a subjective standard for the rescuer. You, the intervener, are justified if you believe the third person is entitled to use that force based on how things appear to you. Even if you're wrong, even if the person you helped was mistaken, as long as your belief was reasonable under the circumstances, you can still be justified.
That definitely seems to encourage helping out more.
That's the policy. Favor intervention when it looks necessary, without making the intervener gamble on facts they can't possibly know for sure in the heat of the moment.
Okay, now connect this back to retreat. We know the duty to retreat is strict in self-defense with deadly force. How does that apply when you're jumping in to protect someone else, especially if they might have had a duty to retreat?
Right. Section 3.052b covers this. It's specific. If you, the intervening actor, know that the person you're trying to protect would be obliged to retreat to be completely safe.
If you know they should retreat.
Yes. Then you are obliged to try and get them to retreat first before you resort to using force yourself. You can't just wade in with force if you know the person you're saving could safely end the confrontation by leaving.
So you have to try and make them leave first. Interesting.
Yeah, it prevents the intervener from basically overriding the third party's own duty to de-escalate if the intervener is aware of it.
Okay, that covers self-defense and defense of others. Let's pivot to the final area. Section 3.06, protection of property. What are the general situations under 3.06 Paso 1 where you can use force, presumably non-deadly force, to protect property, like land or stuff?
Okay, again, the force must be believed to be immediately necessary. It generally covers two main scenarios. First, A, preventing or stopping someone from unlawfully entering your property, trespassing, or, taking your stuff when it's in your possession.
Okay, stopping current interference. What's the second?
Second B is about getting property back after you've been unlawfully dispossessed. So re-entry onto land or recapture of goods. But there are tight conditions. You have to be entitled to possession and you have to act immediately or in fresh pursuit.
Fresh pursuit.
Or there's a small exception if waiting for a court order would cause exceptional hardship. But mostly, it's about immediate action.
Now, before you even use force, say, just to stop someone from trespassing or messing with your belongings, does the MPC make you do anything first? Like, ask them to stop?
Yes, absolutely. Section 3.063A puts a duty on you. Before using force, you generally must first request the person to desist, basically. Tell them to knock it off.
You have to ask first.
You do. Unless you believe asking would be useless or dangerous to you or someone else, or that substantial harm would happen to the property before you could even get the request out.
Okay, so there's an exception, but the default is ask first.
Correct. Request first, use force only if necessary after that, or if asking is pointless dangerous.
All right, let's push the boundaries here with let's call it a memorable hypothetical, focusing on deadly devices for property. Here's the setup for you. Someone owns a remote storage shed. Things keep getting stolen. So they set up an unmarked, automatic, spring-loaded spear trap. It's designed to seriously injure, maybe not kill, but definitely cause serious bodily injury anyone trying to steal from the shed. The owner thinks this dangerous trap is necessary to stop the theft. So what are the legally important facts here?
Okay, key facts. 1, use of a mechanical device, stationary, works automatically this spear trap. 2, its purpose is solely property protection preventing theft. 3, it's designed or at least known to create a risk of serious bodily injury. 4, it's unmarked, so no warning to potential intruders.
Okay, pretty grim facts. What's the core legal issue when someone uses a device like this?
The issue is straight up. Does the justification for protecting property under Section 3.06 ever cover using an automatic device that creates a substantial risk of causing serious bodily injury just to stop theft?
And what rule applies specifically to these kinds of protective devices? Can you state the rule from MPC Section 3.06 and its elements?
Yep, Section 3.065 deals directly with devices. For the device to be justified, all three of these conditions must be met. First, the device is not designed to cause, nor is it known to create a substantial risk of causing death or serious bodily injury. That's a big one.
Okay, element 1 is no risk of death or serious bodily injury.
Second, the use of that specific device has to be reasonable under the circumstances. And third, either the device is customary for that purpose, or the actor takes reasonable care to warn potential intruders about it. All right, 3 elements. Let's do the elemental analysis, focusing on the most obvious one first. How does that spear trap stack up against the first element, the prohibition on devices causing substantial risk of death or serious bodily injury?
It fails, immediately and catastrophically. The sub-issue here is what level of harm is acceptable purely for property defense via a device. The rule draws a very bright line. No substantial risk of serious bodily injury.
That is spear trap.
A spear trap, by its very nature, is designed to impale, to cause massive trauma. That is serious bodily injury, or at least a substantial risk of it. So the drafter's analysis leads directly to the conclusion that this device inherently violates element 1. The justification defense is dead on arrival just based on that. Life trumps property in the MPC's hierarchy here. Okay, it fails element 1. But just for thoroughness, let's look at the third element, the part about the device being customary or having a warning. How does our unmarked spear trap do there?
It fails there too. The sub-issue is risk management through notice or expectation. The rule gives 2 paths: customary use or warning.
Is a spear trap customary?
Definitely not. I mean, maybe in an Indiana Jones movie, but not for protecting sheds in any standard sense, so it's not customary.
And the hypo said it was unmarked.
Right. Unmarked means the actor took no care, let alone reasonable care, to warn probable intruders, so it fails the warning prong too. It fails element 3 on both counts.
Okay, fails element 1, fails element 3. What's the final conclusion on the justification for the spear trap?
The conclusion is inescapable. The use of the spear trap is unlawful. The actor cannot claim justification under 3.06. It violates the explicit prohibition in 3.06 5A against devices creating substantial risk of serious bodily injury. And beyond that, using potentially deadly force, even via a device, solely to protect property from theft, is generally way outside what the MPC allows anyway. That usually requires threats against people, not just things.
That detailed breakdown really highlights the MPC's priorities. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground self-defense, others, property, deadly force, retreat, devices. For the listener trying to put this all together, maybe for an exam or just to understand it clearly, can you synthesize this into that final actionable diagnostic checklist?
Absolutely. Here's a structured way to approach any justification problem under these MPC sections.
Identify the basis. What's the core claim? Is it self-protection under 3.04, protection of others under 3.05, remembering that crucial subjective belief element for the rescuer, or is it protection of property under 3.06?
Okay, first step, what section applies?
Second, determine the level of force. Was it deadly force or non-deadly force? Remember, deadly force has that much higher threshold, requires threat of death, serious bodily injury, or compelled sexual intercourse.
Level of force, check.
Third, check the general requirements. Was the force believed to be immediately necessary against unlawful force?
Yeah.
Always check that subjective belief and the immediacy.
The core justification test.
Fourth, look for specific limitations, especially under 3.04. Did the actor resist someone they knew was a peace officer? If yes, justification under 3.04 is out.
The resisting arrest rule.
Fifth, analyze retreat, but only if deadly force was used. Did the actor have a duty to retreat? Could they have retreated with complete safety? And critically check the dwelling workplace exception. But remember, the exception doesn't apply if the actor was the initial aggressor or if they were attacked at work by a known coworker. If either of those is true, the duty to retreat comes back.
Retreat and its exceptions crucial for deadly force.
And finally, sixth, analyze property-specific rules if it's a 3.06 case. Was force used for trespass? If so, was a request to desist made first, unless excused? And critically, was a forbidden mechanical device used when creating that substantial risk of serious bodily injury?
Property rules. Request to desist, no deadly devices.
That checklist should help you systematically work through the key issues the MPC raises in these justification scenarios.
That's incredibly helpful, turning that complexity into a clear process. Thanks so much for walking us through the doctrine and the analysis.
My pleasure. And maybe a final thought for you to consider. Notice how consistently the MPC, through things like the strict limits on deadly devices for property and that affirmative duty to retreat in many deadly force situations, seems to prioritize human life and safety over protecting property, or even sometimes avoiding submission to unlawful authority, like in the arrest scenario. It really reveals a fundamental policy choice embedded deep in the code about the relative value the law places on life versus property rights. Something to think about.